They appeared in your life like a light in a dark room. First, there was darkness, then closeness. Then, the feeling that this is it. This is the person you've been searching for all along. The one who understands you without you having to explain. The one who calls first. The one who remembers you hate cilantro and are afraid of heights. You start to think, it happens. Sometimes people just click. But then, one day, you say no. Or you can't lend them money. Or you can't come to their rescue late at night because you can barely stand yourself. Or you simply start taking up more space with your own problems, your own needs, your own exhaustion. And just like that, the light goes out. No fight, no explanation, as if you never existed. They read your messages, but don't reply. They see your texts and stay silent. Or worse, they keep talking to you, but something has irreversibly shifted. It's become cold, polite, empty. And you're left alone with the question, what did I do wrong? Nothing. You did nothing wrong. You just became obsolete. I want to tell you something that isn't often said out loud. Not because it's a secret, but because it's an uncomfortable truth. It changes how you see the people around you. It forces you to ask questions you might not want the answers to. But it's this knowledge that will save you one day. In this world, there are two types of people you build intimacy with. From the outside, they look almost identical, especially at the beginning. The first type sees you. Not an image of you, not your usefulness, not what you can provide. They see you, with your rough edges, your flaws, your strange 3 a.m. thoughts, your imperfect history. These are the people who stay when you're not at your best, when you have nothing to offer but your presence, when you're not exactly a gift to the world. The second type sees a resource, not necessarily consciously, not necessarily out of malice, but somewhere in the architecture of their relationships, you don't occupy the space of a person, you occupy the space of a function. You are emotional support, you are a financial cushion. You are the one who will always catch them, always listen, always find a way out. You are convenient. And as long as you are convenient, everything is wonderful. Imagine a vending machine. You put a coin in and it gives you coffee. You put another one in and it gives you another. It's fair, predictable, and it works. As long as it works, you're happy. But no one is friends with a vending machine. No one calls it on a Sunday just to chat. No one remembers how it looked 5 years ago. No one sits next to it when it's broken and says, it's going to be okay, I'm here. When it breaks, people kick it. They get angry or they simply walk away to find another machine, one that still accepts their coins. For people with a transactional attachment style, you are that machine. You exist in their life for exactly as long as you're functioning properly, exactly as long as you have something to give. Harsh, right? But here's the crucial part. It's not always sadism. Often it's the only way they know how to love. Transactional relationships don't start with coldness. It's important to repeat that, because most people look for a villain, someone who planned to use them from day one. They look for calculation and a cold stare, and when they can't find it, they start to doubt themselves. Maybe I made it all up? Maybe I'm being too sensitive? No. Transactional relationships usually start with the exact opposite. They start with a bombardment. Psychologists call it love bombing, or more accurately, an overwhelming flood of attention, interest that seems genuine, admiration that warms your soul. I've never talked to anyone like this before. You're completely different. I feel like I've known you my whole life. You feel special, chosen, seen. But here's the paradox. You are being studied, just not as a person, as a resource. What can you give? How do I need to talk to you so you open up? What touches you? Where are your weak spots? It's not always a conscious process. Sometimes it's just a pattern, a way of building closeness that was formed in childhood, in a family where love was always conditional, where you were loved for your grades, for your obedience, for not causing trouble, where approval had to be earned. That child grows up and builds relationships the same way, seeking out people to get things from, and giving just enough to maintain access. Here are 3 signs whispered among those who have been through it and come out the other side. Sign 1. The relationship only exists in moments of exchange. You notice that the initiative is always yours, or they only appear when they need something, or when you have something valuable. There are no calls just because. No "how are you" without a reason. No meetings that serve no purpose other than just meeting. When you are not needed, you cease to exist. When you are, everything comes alive. And that revival is so convincing, so warm, that you start to believe again. You think, see, I am important, we are close. But this isn't closeness, it's a transaction with a human face. Sign 2. Your pain is an inconvenience to them. This is perhaps the sharpest marker, because it's in a crisis that you see who is truly there for you. When something happens to you, they either disappear, change the subject to themselves, give you unsolicited advice to quickly close the topic, or say something like, "Everyone has problems, you'll get over it, don't dramatize." Then they get back to their own lives. Your pain doesn't produce anything valuable for them, it only consumes their resources, time, attention, emotional energy. They're used to being the receiver, not the giver. When the roles reverse, the system breaks and they leave. Or they stay, but in a way that makes you wish they had left. Sign 3. You are always the one who adapts. Relationships are living organisms. They require adjustments from both sides. Sometimes you compromise, sometimes they do. Sometimes you change plans for them, sometimes they change plans for you. In transactional relationships, this dynamic is one way. You adapt to their mood, their schedule, their boundaries, what's convenient for them at the moment. You become flexible, understanding, patient, because that's what you were taught, because relationships require effort. They don't change. Why would they? The system is already working for them. Now for the hardest part, the part few are ready to hear. You yourself might be this machine for someone else. Not out of malice, not because you're a bad person, but simply because no one ever taught us the difference between two very similar things: being there and being useful. Many of us grew up in a culture where a person's value was measured by their functionality. A good employee, a good child, a good friend. And good almost always meant someone who helps, who doesn't let you down, who is there when needed. We learn to be needed. We never learn to just be. In relationships, this shows up as us trying desperately to be useful, because it's the only way we know to earn a place next to someone. We help, advise, save, fix. We make ourselves indispensable. And then we wonder why we feel lonely even when surrounded by people. Because they got used to the function, and the function doesn't need intimacy, it just needs to work. Psychologists call this object relations disturbance. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. It's when a person can't clearly distinguish between people and tools. When another person is perceived not as a subject with their own inner life, but as an object that exists to fulfill needs. It's not always a pathology. Very often, it's a survival strategy. Imagine a child who grew up in a family where love was unpredictable. Today you're hugged, tomorrow you're ignored. Approval had to be earned over and over again. Intimacy was always a transaction, even if unspoken. That child learns. People are resources. They need to be managed. You have to be charming, useful, and indispensable, because if you stop being useful, you will be abandoned. That rule becomes a law of nature. They grow up, but the rule stays. They build relationships the only way they know how, attracting people, using their resources, and leaving or growing cold when those people stop delivering. Not out of cruelty, not out of fear, just out of an inability to do it any other way. Understanding this doesn't mean forgiving the behavior. Understanding this means stopping the search for the cause in yourself. You didn't break, you just encountered a person who doesn't know how to love unconditionally. Here is a question I want to offer you. You don't have to answer it out loud, just hold it inside. If you took away everything you give, would anyone stay? Not abstractly, specifically, this one person. Would they stay if you didn't have money they could borrow, a shoulder they could lean on, the energy to listen to their problems? If you were just you, quiet, tired, depleted, without gifts or advice, would they still be here? It's an uncomfortable question because sometimes the answer is no, and that no is hard to accept. But it is that no that sets you free. Because as long as you don't know the answer, you keep trying. You keep being the best vending machine. You keep working flawlessly, dispensing coffee on demand. No complaints, no breakdowns. You keep hoping that if you are useful enough, you will finally be truly seen. But you won't be. You cannot see a person if you're looking at a function. So how do you get out of this trap? Not through conflict, not through explanations or analyzing the past. Not by saying, "I figured you out, you're a user." People with transactional attachment styles don't change because of words. They change, or don't change, because of consequences. And the only consequence that works is you being real. With boundaries, with the word no, with your own needs that you stop hiding, with the exhaustion you stop masking as everything's fine, with the desires you stop putting on hold. A real person doesn't fit into the slot of a vending machine. When you stop being convenient for those who are there for the function, you become useless to them. They leave. It hurts, it feels like a loss, but it's not a loss, it's an inventory count. You finally see who was truly there. And here is the final thing I want to say. This knowledge about vending machines, functions, and transactional relationships works both ways. It's not just a tool for recognizing others' manipulation, it's also a mirror. Ask yourself, are there people in your life that you see as a resource? Unconsciously but functionally, do you call them when you need help and never just to say hello? Do you celebrate their successes but only as long as they don't affect you? Are you present in their lives but only when it's convenient? We are all somewhere on this spectrum. No one is perfect in intimacy. No one knows how to love unconditionally 100% of the time. But awareness is the beginning. The beginning of seeing the people around you as people, not as suppliers of resources, not as convenient or inconvenient, but as separate, living, complex beings who also get tired, who are also afraid, who also want to be seen. True intimacy is when two people see each other, not a function, not a role, not a potential source of benefit, just a person. It survives without comfort, it survives without resources, it survives even when both are broken and have nothing left to give. If this video resonated with you, it means there is or was someone like that in your life. Or you recognize yourself somewhere in this. Both options are normal. Both are not a reason for shame, but a reason to pay attention to yourself. Write one word in the comments, machine. Just so I know you're here, you heard this and you're not alone in this. Because there are millions of these stories, and most of them have never been named. See you in the next one.